I never meant to be there that
I
late.
told
The
you we
hallway
should have
light was
called an
buzzing,
electrician.
half dead,
And
and
I
I was already
told you I
halfway
can
past
fix
her
it
door when I heard the
myself.
scrape of furniture and a soft curse. I stopped. Her voice, low, tired, sharp with frustration, came through the cracked open door. Damn thing won't budge. I don't know why I knocked. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I wanted to hear her say my name. When she opened the door, she looked older than usual, not because of her age. She carried that gracefully, but because of the way the lamp behind her caught the faint lines around her eyes. She was in her 40s, but there was nothing fragile about her. She stood straight, chin lifted, like she'd been holding herself against the world for years. "You again," she said, almost like she wasn't sure if she was relieved or annoyed. "You always show up at the right time," she added with a sigh, stepping back to let me in. "Or the wrong one," I said before I could stop myself. She gave me a look. Not a glare, not quite amusement either. Just measured, like she was deciding if she should close the door again. Inside, her living room smelled faintly of coffee and dust. A chair was tipped sideways, one leg cracked, leaning awkwardly against the table. "It broke," she muttered, as if the chair had betrayed her. I bent down, running my fingers along the split wood. "I can fix it." Her arms folded across her chest. "That's what you said last time." I grinned despite myself. "And I didn't I?" She didn't answer, but the corner of her mouth twitched, something between a smirk and an almost smile. She busied herself with tidying the magazines on the counter, though there was no real need. Her hands moved too quickly, too deliberately. Silence stretched. Not comfortable silence, something heavier. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the soft creak of her floorboards as she shifted her weight. I wanted to say something simple, something ordinary, but the words came out differently. "Why do you always let me in?" Her hands stilled. For a second, she didn't turn around. Then she said softly, "Maybe I shouldn't. I should have let it go. I should have laughed it off." Instead, I stood, wiped the dust from my palms, and said the only thing that felt true. "Neither should I." Her shoulders tightened at that, the way people do when a truth brushes too close. She finally turned to face me, and in the glow of that dim lamp, she didn't look tired anymore. She looked dangerous, like someone on the edge of making a choice. I didn't move closer, but I didn't look away either. "You're too young," she whispered, shaking her head, though her eyes didn't leave mine. "And you're too beautiful to be this lonely," I whispered back before I even realized I'd said it. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Just the faintest intake of breath, the kind you only hear when the room is too quiet, when you're both listening for something neither of you is supposed to say. For the first time, she didn't hide the way her fingers trembled as she set down the glass she'd been holding. The sound of it against the counter was louder than it should have been. Then her hand brushed mine as she reached for the broken chair, and neither of us pulled away fast enough. Her voice was barely audible. "I shouldn't be doing this. Neither should I." And still neither of us let go. Her hand was still near mine, close enough that I could feel the faint tremor in her fingers. Neither of us spoke. Then, as if remembering herself, she pulled away and crossed to the window. "You shouldn't always come running whenever I have some mess to fix," she said, drawing the curtain a little too hard. "It's not your job." I leaned against the edge of the table, the cracked chair forgotten between us. "You called last time." "This time I didn't," she replied, quick. Her voice was steady, but the way she kept her back to me gave her away. I swallowed. She wasn't wrong. I had no reason to knock, no excuse for being there except that I wanted to be. Maybe too much. Her reflection in the glass was softer than the real her. Shoulders slumped, hair falling loose from the tie at the back of her neck. She looked breakable, and I knew she hated that. She finally turned, arms wrapping around herself. "I just got out of something," she said, the words quieter now. "Something I don't want to explain." I nodded, though I felt the weight of it sink into me. Then don't. Her eyes lifted to mine, sharp, searching. You don't make it easy. What? You stand there like you're not supposed to care. But you do. And I can't. She stopped, pressing her lips together, cutting herself off. The silence pressed down heavy again. I tried to focus on the chair, on the stupid crack in the wood. But all I could see was the way her throat moved when she swallowed hard, the faint shadow beneath her eyes, the line of tension in her jaw. Dangerous, I told myself. This was dangerous. She was older, smarter, wrapped in regrets I couldn't name. I should have left. Instead, I stepped closer. You don't have to explain anything. My voice faltered. I didn't finish. Her eyes didn't waver. And for a heartbeat, it felt like she wanted me to say it, whatever it was. I forced myself to break the moment. I crouched, touched the chair again, though my hands weren't steady anymore. See? Not that bad. A little glue, a screw. Good as new. Always fixing things, she murmured. I looked up. Would you rather I didn't? Her lips parted, then closed again, as if the answer would cost her too much. When I rose, she was right there, closer than I'd expected. The space between us was thin, charged. You're too young for this, she whispered, but it sounded less like a warning and more like a plea. Maybe, I said. My chest felt tight. But I'm here anyway. Her hand brushed my arm, light at first, then lingered. My pulse jumped. Stay a little longer, she said, softer than I'd ever heard her voice. And that was the moment I almost told her what I shouldn't. I should have left when she asked me to stay. But the way she said it, soft, almost fragile, made my feet heavy, like they belonged in that room. She poured herself a glass of water, then one for me. When she handed it over, our fingers touched again, longer this time. It wasn't the kind of contact you could laugh off. You don't even know me that well, she said, though her eyes lingered on mine. I wanted to laugh at that. I knew the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was uncomfortable, the way she lined up her coffee mugs with exact precision, the way she hummed under her breath when she thought no one could hear. I knew more than I should. Maybe I don't know everything, I said, my voice low. But I notice things. Her breath hitched. Like what? I hesitated. I should have lied. I should have shrugged and said something safe. But the words came anyway. Like how lonely you look when the lights are off. Her eyes darkened. She turned away fast, too fast, setting her glass down with a sharp clink. For a second, I thought I'd ruined it. Then the silence broke. Not from either of us, but from the shrill ring of her phone on the counter. She flinched. The name lit up the screen. I didn't know who it was, but the way she stared at it told me everything. Her past. The thing she'd said she just got out of. Still calling, still reaching. She didn't answer. Just let it ring until the sound cut off, leaving a hole in the quiet. I stepped forward without thinking, hand hovering like I wanted to touch her shoulder but stopping short. You don't have to explain, I said again, softer this time. Her head bowed. I'm not ready to be seen like this. But when she lifted her gaze, her eyes found mine anyway, raw, unguarded. And I couldn't look away. I should have pulled back. I should have made some excuse about the chair or the late hour. Instead, I stayed. When she moved past me, her sleeve brushed my hand. My fingers closed before I could stop them, catching the edge of fabric. She froze. Neither of us spoke. The air was too heavy, charged with everything unspoken. Then came the soft knock on her door. She stiffened instantly, pulling her arm free. Her eyes flicked to me, wide, almost panicked. Whoever it was knocked again, more insistent this time. Don't, she mouthed, holding up a hand as if to keep me silent. My chest pounded. I wanted to ask who it was, why she looked like she'd been caught. Instead, I nodded. The knock faded, followed by retreating footsteps. Only then did she exhale, pressing her hand against the counter for balance. When her eyes found me again, there was no space left for pretending. And I knew we were right on the edge of crossing the line, surfacing and ending in silence that holds everything unresolved. The knock still lingered in the air, even after the footsteps faded down the hall. She stood perfectly still, her hand pressed flat on the counter, like she was holding herself in place. I wanted to ask who it was. I wanted to ask why she looked terrified. But my voice wouldn't come. When she finally spoke, her words were ragged. "You shouldn't have seen me like this." "Like what?" I asked, though I already knew. Shaken, cornered, weak. She turned away, shoulders stiff, jaw clenched. "I don't let people see me like this." I hesitated, then said what had been clawing at my chest all night. "Maybe that's why I can't stay away." She whipped around, eyes locking on mine. I thought she'd tell me to leave, slam the door behind me, remind me of the age difference like a line carved in stone. But she didn't. "You have no idea what you're saying," she whispered, her voice trembling with something between anger and fear. "Then tell me." Her laugh was short, bitter. "You think this is about you? You're a kid who thinks—" She stopped, biting the words back. Her throat worked, but she couldn't finish. I took a step closer, closing the gap that had been widening since the knock. "I'm not a kid." She stared at me, and for the first time, I saw her defenses crack, just slightly, like a window left unlatched. "I'm too old for this," she said, her voice low. "Too tired. Too broken." The words landed heavy, but they didn't push me back. If anything, they pulled me forward. "Then let me carry some of it." Her breath caught. Her eyes darted to the floor, then back to me, and I saw it. Something she'd been holding in, something she couldn't cage forever. "You don't know how dangerous this is," she whispered. "Dangerous for who?" "For me." The air between us felt razor thin. I could hear her breathing, see the way her hand trembled against the counter before she slowly drew it back to her side. I should have left. Every part of me screamed to leave, but my feet didn't move. "Tell me to go," I said quietly. Her lips parted, but no sound came. "Tell me." I pushed, though my voice shook now. "If you mean it, I'll walk out that door." The silence that followed was unbearable. Her eyes were wet, though no tears fell. She opened her mouth once, then closed it again, biting down on the answer she couldn't give. I stood there, waiting for the words that never came. And then, only her stare, unbroken, heavy with everything she wouldn't say. A silence so loud it was almost a confession. Power and emotion. The silence between us felt unbreakable, but it was shattered by the sudden vibration of her phone again. She didn't move to answer it this time. She just stared at the screen, her jaw tight. I glanced at the name. Familiar. Too familiar. My chest clenched. It was my professor's last name. I froze, replaying the pieces in my head. The hints she'd dropped. The way she'd said she just got out of something. The warnings. The danger. Her eyes followed mine to the phone, then back up. She knew I'd seen it. "That's your ex?" I asked, my voice rough. Her silence was answer enough. I stepped back, breath catching. "He taught me last semester." She winced, pressing her fingers to her forehead like she wanted to erase the entire moment. "I didn't know you knew him. And you didn't think I should know?" Her voice cracked. "It was over before you came into the picture. It meant nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Not anymore." The air shifted, sharp, full of all the things she hadn't told me. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the realization twisted inside me, raw and hot. "You always said it was dangerous," I whispered. "Now I get it." Her shoulders stiffened. "This isn't about him. This is about me. And you." But I couldn't stop the wave rising in my chest. Jealousy, ugly, unfamiliar, burned through me. The thought of her with someone else, someone I knew, someone who had once stood exactly where I was standing. "You let him in like this too, didn't you?" I asked before I could stop myself. Her eyes widened, hurt flashing across her face. Don't. The word landed like a slap. I wanted to take it back, to erase the cruelty in what I'd said, but the damage hung there between us. She stepped closer, voice trembling. Do you think I'd let you stand here, in this room, if you were just another version of him? The question cut through me. Raw, desperate, true. I searched her face. Every line, every tremor in her lips. She wasn't lying. She was terrified, but she wasn't lying. My chest ached, torn between doubt and the pull I couldn't resist. Her phone buzzed again on the counter. She picked it up this time, but instead of answering, she pressed the button hard and silenced it. Then she looked at me, really looked. Her voice was low, but steady now. If you want to leave, go. But if you stay, don't ever compare me to him again. The words hit like a challenge, like a door half open. And I knew I had to choose, walk out, or step further into something I couldn't undo. Silence and face what's been building. Her words hung in the room like a blade. If you stay, don't ever compare me to him again. For a long moment, neither of us moved. My chest tightened. I could hear the faint tick of the clock on her wall, the hum of the refrigerator. Ordinary sounds, too loud in a room that felt anything but ordinary. I didn't mean it, I said finally, voice rough. What I said about him. I broke off, dragging a hand through my hair. I don't know how to handle this. You. Her eyes softened for a fraction of a second before she turned away, pacing toward the window. She rested her hands on the sill, her back tense. You shouldn't have to handle me, she said quietly. You should be out with people your own age, falling in love with someone who doesn't carry all of this. The words stung, but I couldn't leave them unchallenged. I don't want someone else, I said, stepping forward. I'm here, aren't I? Not because I don't have choices, but because every time I try to walk away, I end up back at your door. Her shoulders shook, just slightly, as if she were holding back something heavier than words. You'll regret this one day, she whispered. Me. I swallowed hard. Then let me regret it. Just don't shut me out before it even begins. Slowly, she turned. Her face was bare now, no mask of sarcasm or restraint, just fear, and something deeper, flickering like a light she was afraid to let burn. You make me feel seen, she said. The confession cracked in her voice, raw, almost broken. And I don't remember the last time I let anyone see me. The honesty hit me harder than any touch. My throat closed, words stuck behind everything I wanted to say. So I didn't say anything. I stepped closer until I could feel the warmth of her. My hand lifted, hesitating for a breath, then resting lightly on her arm. She didn't flinch. She didn't pull away. For a moment all the tension, the warnings, the silences, the almost confessions, melted into the quiet between us. Her eyes met mine, wide and searching. If I let this happen, she said, barely audible, you have to know, it changes everything. I nodded because there was nothing else I could do. Her lips parted as if she might say more, but instead, she closed the last inch of space. Not with a kiss. Not yet. But with her forehead resting against mine, a gesture so fragile it made my chest ache. We stayed like that, breathing the same air, caught in a silence heavier than words. And for the first time, it didn't feel dangerous. Felt like the truth. We stayed like that for what felt like forever. My forehead pressed to hers, the world shrinking down to the sound of our breaths. No more interruptions, no more knocking at the door, no more buzzing phone. Just us, finally stripped of excuses. When she pulled back, her eyes searched mine like she was afraid the moment would collapse if she blinked too long. I don't know how to do this, she admitted, her voice shaking. Neither do I said. But I want to try. Her lips trembled, and for once she didn't fight it. She didn't put up walls or try to make herself untouchable. She let me see her, really see her. That was the change. The thing I'd been waiting for all along. She wasn't just the guarded, regretful woman who told me I was too young. She wasn't just someone's ex, or my almost mistake. She was someone who let me walk past her defenses when nobody else could. And I wasn't just the kid who showed up at the wrong time. I was the one who stayed, who kept coming back when walking away would have been easier. She exhaled slowly. You make me feel like I'm not ruined. You never were, I whispered. The chair I'd promised to fix was still leaning broken against the table, but neither of us moved toward it. It wasn't about repairs anymore. The cracks were still there, but they didn't scare me, and for the first time I don't think they scared her either. Her hand slid into mine, steady this time. No trembling, no pulling away. Just a choice, simple and deliberate. That was the real shift. Not the words, not the confessions, not the danger we'd been circling around. Just the act of staying. Despite the past, despite the difference, despite everything that should have kept us apart. Later, when I left her apartment, the hallway light still buzzed overhead, just like the first night. But it didn't feel dim anymore. I knew we'd have to face the world outside. The questions, the looks, the weight of our own doubts. But inside those walls, in that quiet room, we'd already made our decision. And it wasn't about the right time or the wrong one. It was just about us. That's how it started. That's how we crossed the line we'd been circling for too long. Not with fireworks, not with grand declarations, but with silence, with breath, with the kind of honesty you can't take back. And maybe that's what love really is, not perfect timing, but choosing each other anyway. So tell me,